Welcome into the Sporting News Studios as we continue our look at the 2012-2013 college basketball season. I'm Tom Vandervoort with our college basketball writer, Mike DeCourcy. Mike, number 14, Creighton. One thing we know about Creighton, they have Doug McDermott.
Yes. It's one of those things. I'm not a huge believer in players playing for their dads. It usually doesn't work out. Very rarely in the history of college basketball. As a matter of fact, a lot of guys I know, their descents as coaches began when they coached their sons. It's the first move on the way to getting fired. But when your son is Doug McDermott,
okay.
You make sure you get him.
An exception, right?
Wow, can he play? He is a great talent. He does everything on the floor. Part of that's growing up in a basketball household. And also growing to 6'8", 6'9", but he's so skilled. He plays with such intelligence. He plays with great commitment to his teammates. They don't force the ball to him, even though he's the coach's son, which is a good sign because it means that they're trying to be balanced. Frankly, I'd give it to him every time.
I mean, he can score. I mean, he can flat out score.
And he can score in a variety of ways. Great deep shooter, very good in the post, good in between game. He is a complete offensive basketball player. Plays defense with great precision. He's not a super athlete, but he plays his position intelligently. He rebounds great, and that's a big part of being a defender at his position. Mm-hmm. So he does all of those things well. Again, he doesn't get favoritism on this team. If I were the coach, again, as good as the other guys are, I'd give it to Doug every time.
Now, there is some question about who gets them the ball and who initiates the offense. Talk to me about the point guard position here.
Well, they have Austin Chapman taking over for Antoine Young. Antoine Young is the only starter that they lost from last year. Antoine was a very good Missouri Valley Conference point guard. Can Austin Chapman be that guy? Well, it's nice to have very good players around you, and it's nice to know in a pinch, just give it to Doug and he'll do something good with it. But he has to defend well. He has to make good decisions. If he does those two things, I think they'll be fine.
Now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, they have another season this year like they had last year. Last year, they ended up in an 8-9 game. A lot of us felt like, that's not really fair to that basketball team. Coming out of the Missouri Valley Conference, is there any way to avoid that kind of fate?
Well, the first way is to not have a season like they had last year. Have one better. I mean, if you look at Murray State went 30-1. They were able to get to a 6. If you went to that level or close to that level in the Missouri Valley, you'd probably get at least to a 4 or 5, maybe even squeeze up into the 3. I'm a big believer in evaluating teams. I don't like evaluating leagues. I don't like when the committee does that. I think it's a mistake. Right. There are too many mid-level Big East teams that have gotten seeded into the 6-7 range that probably were more true 8-9 teams than, say, Memphis was a year ago, and certainly Creighton. Creighton was far in excess of an 8-9. They should have been probably a 4 or a 5.
Okay, so finally, the biggest hurdle for Creighton, the biggest thing they got to overcome to really have the same kind of success.
Just finding chemistry with the point guard, making sure that Austin Chapman is a high-level Missouri Valley point guard. They're going to have some challenges in the non-league as well. They've tried to schedule up maybe a little bit to help with the seeding. But the most important thing is finding chemistry at the point. If that happens, they'll be really good.
All right, there you go. That's our look at Creighton. Thanks for watching.